I'm Andrew Armstrong, welcome to the back of this. Unfortunately, this is our last Nintendo Game & Watch dual screen we're going to be playing with. This is the Rain Shower game. Sounds very exciting, not the usual characters, but it does have these interesting, very stylized Nintendo graphics of the time. This is a game again released in 1983. It was available on the Game Boy Advanced compilation of Game & Watch games. And apparently it's about the player trying to dry his clothes. So that's something you don't normally see. I'll just pop it open just to show you before I put the batteries in. The ribbon cable is intact, as are a lot of the buttons. But look, it's missing this panel on the left. And something I've just noticed, it's got these interesting dimples here. These battery-shaped dimples correspond with the battery door on the back. So there's some interesting feature. So the actual battery door, I never really realised this, but if you see the battery holder under the door is made up, the plastic is actually part of the moulding for the top screen. Interesting. And it's actually convenient we've got that open because, of course, we're going to pop in some cells. 1983, made in Japan. Batteries are in. Moment of truth. Uh-oh. Not a good sign. It's a bit worrying. I'm just going to wiggle the battery. Oh yeah, there we go. Bit of wigglage. Sees the the screen come on. So can I see what's wrong? Nothing obvious wrong here. Just going to give it a light bit of scratchage. Technical term, bit of scratchage on the contacts. There we go. I can't remember when I lost my ability to talk and use English, but unfortunately that seems to be the case. Left screen looks really nice and normal, but the right screen looks dim. I've never seen a dim right screen before. It's crazy dim, actually. Let's see what you do. So you can move the guy up and down. Now he's crying. I did something wrong. Let's focus just on this left screen for now. Oh, I see. So he's got this button. If you push button move, it actually moves the laundry. He's tugging the washing line back and forth. And the rain will fall through either the gaps. There we go. See how the rain falls through the gaps, and then now he's moving the line across. Yeah, this is alright. I like this. This is sort of a bit of a concept you don't really see much of. And I'm guessing you just get more and more raindrops appearing until you get one hit like that. But what interests me at the moment, okay, that's the gameplay, and it's ever going to be as good as a Game & Watch can be. And of course you can move to this screen and do the same, but it's a bit harder because this is so dim. So I think I'm a bit more interested now, trying to work out what could be the source of this dimness. Now we know we can't really do anything with the right hand screen because there's no screws on this side, and it's got the nice plate that we don't really want to remove. And the left screen though does have 4 screws, so I really suspect that the right hand screen also has those 4 screws just underneath that. So what we can do is at least work on this one side and see what's inside these. Pop the lid. Okay, so already with Nintendo starting to use the fancy security type screws. Let's see if this tool will work. Okay. Working my way through the toolbox. It's just a regular flathead. Let's see if a regular flathead will work. There we go. Nice. Really stiff. I'm not surprised though. Think how old this is. What will we find inside? When we crack the lid, we're going to get all the atmosphere and dust particles from 1983 appearing. Never taken one of these apart before, so I don't know if the top half separates from the bottom or the bottom from the top. You've got the hinge here, so I think this screen might pop out. Again, very ginger. Indeed it does. We know it's clamming, so we can clam it over that way. So there's your buzzer speaker. No jewels, unadjusted, Nintendo Japan. Look at that. This is your timing circuitry here. So we could overclock these, interestingly enough. A diode with the buzzer. Interesting. So if we want to go any further, what we've got to do is just unsolder the actual buzzer from here, so we can take this off, and then we're just going to check that the ribbon cable is secured nicely on the screen. That's about all we can do on this side. Might give us an idea as well if there's some sort of part number for these ribbon cables should we have to replace it. I do have another unit which definitely needs a new ribbon. G2, that's the only marking on this chip, G2. We'll see if there's any markings on the other side. So I've got the soldering iron here in my hand. Quite gingerly. My soldering iron's up to 350 degrees and it's not even touching that solder. So the ancient solder doesn't want to give up. So we'll put some fresh solder on here because it'll have some flux in it that might just, there we go. That soldering though, that speaker wire is really bad. Look how frayed it is. We'll clean that up for Mr. Nintendo. Quality control was asleep that day. Just clear the deck. Got some screwdrivers off camera rattling around. 1. 2. 3. What I'd quite like is a speak and spell. Do you remember speak and spells? They were quite popular. Featured in the E.T. movie as well. Strange how you can't find things like that. I mean, you get learning toys. My kids have all these boring learning toys because not very very interesting to me at least. But they don't seem to have voice synthesis. They all have pre-recorded junk. One more screw here I missed out. I might try to find a modern clone of a Game & Watch and see if I can, if they've sort of copied these designs. It would be interesting because I think it would be fun to overclock them. That's the unit here. Just going to remove the membrane. Pop that down because these are always a bit fiddly. See, it's got metal button tops on it because you're obviously poking these with a ballpoint pen, if you recall. I'll flip that around gently. And I'm not doing it with tweezers just because I hold it in some reverence. It's just because it's a bit easier with my fat fingers. I think I've got an issue because this might have flipped around. Yes, I think that flipped around in. There we go, that's the right way around. So pop that in, done. Great. So in one of my previous videos I noticed there was some schmuckus on the screen. Looks like they're quite easy to clean, so you could just give that a wipe down of something. And you can see there, that's the beautiful artwork layer. And it's actually, there's artwork on the screen and then in front of the screen on this, probably a polarizer. So you've got parallax here, parallax artworks. In fact, there is the polarizer. And there's the artwork. Wunderbar. Now onward to the ribbon cable because that's what we're focusing on. You can see the ribbon there, zip, and then you can see the contacts there. All the various contacts on the PCB. They're looking pretty good, Nick. And then there's another, well, I don't know what you call these pink ribbony blocks that put contact through, but that's the LED one. Not going to lift that, I think. If we lift that, I think that'll be the last time that'll have worked. Fancy having a look under the D-pad while we're there? Let's go for it. There you go. Nintendo were always good with the old D-pad technologies. So what I'm going to do is just give this a wipe down, really. Pop this back on, wipe and see if it works after that. It does give me a lot of confidence though that you could actually get this as an aftermarket part, this ribbon. And in the case where I've got one game which isn't working, I could probably even test it by soldering a wire from here to the other side and giving it a go with that. Not that the owner of these games would probably allow me to do that. So let me get a cloth, let's give this a wipe down. I'm just going to use a regular cloth and just a bit of distilled water. No fancy chemicals needed. Just dampen an edge. I'll wrap that around my finger. Just give it a wipe. Yeah, it's a little bit of dirt's come off. It's not too bad really. It's not a very aggressive cleaner. Give it another go. That's done. And then just the ribbon along the edge. My soldering iron is still on in the background because of course we're going to have to solder that buzzer back on. Membrane back down. I could use the opportunity to give this a wipe. I'm not going to bother though. I'm not going to bother. It's that easy to get into. I don't have a decent lens cloth to hand. Put the screws back in. So you might be wondering why you should use a lens cloth rather than regular, effectively toilet tissue or hand towels on screens. And that's because lens cloths are made out of, you know, either a synthetic material or cotton. And paper towels are made out of wood. So those woody fibres will still persist, although it feels soft to your hands. The woody fibres are in there, so you rub that on screens, you're actually scratching them very slightly. And you don't want that, you just don't want a scratch on one of these things. It could be soft plastic and you'll never recover it ever, and you can't go back to 1983 and buy another one. So don't do it. Nearly there. It's out of the corner of my eye while I'm doing these screws. I'm looking at that buzzer, looking at how they actually bonded it. It seems to have a ring that's sort of entirely round its circumference. Not that it's important. The wires, you can see, if they just made them an inch longer, they could have soldered them in place rather than create this hassle. But they probably saved a lot of wire by doing it this way. They don't care that the labourer has to sort of stress himself. Nope, it still doesn't reach. So let's try it the other way. Less tension on the. More hands needed. This is why it was soldered so badly, I think, because there's a bit of manhandling required. It's almost like a game itself. Nintendo are challenging its workers. So I've got the screen with my little finger being held, and then I don't think you'd want to do this without tweezers. That's soldered on. I left it as I found it, equally badly soldered. I forgive the original assembler. It was clearly a pain. I'm going to shut that, keep that PCB in place while I put the last 4 screws, and we can see if it made a difference. And if not, we'll know it's the other side. And if it's the other side, I'm going to have to figure out how we can get into those decal sides without damaging that metal plate. You saw that this game already was missing one. It's obviously bonded on with some sort of contact adhesive. But you know, if that contact adhesive is being tenacious, if you just try to prise the edge of that screen, it's going to really bend it. And that's it. Game over. Would you rather a Game & Watch with a bent up screen, but bent up decal, but working screen? Or would you just rather it completely intact and a little bit flawed? But how many hours are you really going to play this thing? I think beyond 2 minutes, probably not very long. screws finally tightened up. Moment of truth. And it's exactly the same! Hooray! So I'm going to have to do a bit of research and see if a dim screen is sort of symptomatic of something on that side. You know, some of those components, maybe I can just replace something and it'll make this one work. I don't really know what's on the right hand side. I think it might be just a simple ribbon that just goes to a PCB here. And there might not be any components on the right hand side at all. But I don't know. Please leave a comment down below and let me know if you know. If you like this video, click like, the little thumb thing. I like this video. Please feel free to click subscribe, and as ever, thank you for watching.